You're watching Valley Sports, the home of the Pacers.
The story begins with my mother and father, Bernie and Willie McGinnis. They migrated to Indiana from Hoppersville, Alabama, looking for a better opportunity for their family. That turned out to be one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it's hard growing up in Indiana and not falling in love with the game of basketball.
The Pacers are in Washington to play the Wizards, but we start this show by paying tribute to one of the best to ever play the game when wearing a Pacers uniform, but also while spending most of his career in the state of Indiana. George McGinnis, a powerful force on the court, a kind-hearted man off the court, a two-time ABA champion, and Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Famer. Number 30 is in the rafters at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. You are watching Indiana Members Credit Union Pacers Live pregame on a Friday night, coming to you live from Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. My name is Jeremiah Johnson. George McGinnis passed away early Thursday morning, suffering from complications after a cardiac arrest late last week. We feel it is important and appropriate to devote this entire first segment of Pacers Live pregame to an Indiana basketball icon. From high school to college to the pros, Big Mac spent his career in Indiana.
When I was 6 years old, we got our first TV, and my father brought that thing home. It was a buddy of his who had a TV, and he bought a new one, so he bought it from one of his friends. He had to put the old, the clothes hanger antenna in there to get it right. But we watched the 1956 Addicts team play in the state championship, which was terrific. And that's what got me to start wanting to play. That's been, I think, probably the neatest part of my career, that I've been able to play every level at right here in Indiana, along with my old high school coach, Jerry Oliver, who was there at Washington High School with me. He went on to IU when I went there, and he came to the Pacers when I was with the Pacers. When we started playing, there was no football team. There was a minor league hockey team. So this was only big entertainment that people had. And we won, and I think people don't forget that. When you win, people never forget you. It was in 1973-74 season. We're down to a last play, and Slick had called the play for me. And the play, as we called the play, they defended it well, and the play just went haywire, and all of a sudden, I forgot who had the ball. Maybe it was Kevin Joyce, but all of a sudden, Billy just floated to the corner, and there's 7, 6, 5, and somebody says, "There's Billy over there," and he gets the ball, he shoots the 3, we're down 2, boom, and he hits it, and Slick jumps up and goes, "Boom, baby!" And that was the first boom, baby we heard. When the leagues merged, the ABA was the more exciting league. The up and down, the three-point shot, the red, white, and blue ball. Well, the NBA adopted all of that except for the red, white, and blue basketball. And I think it makes for a much more enjoyable game to watch. Now, sometimes coaches don't like that game. They like to grind it out, throw it into the big guy. But I love the play of the teams now in this era.
George McGinnis' 1969 Indianapolis, Washington team, often mentioned as one of the best high school teams in IHSAA history, an All-American at Indiana University, two-time ABA champion, shared ABA co-MVP honors with Dr. J. Julius Erving, 3 times All-NBA, and a James Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Famer. Really came to fame on the high school hardwood. I mentioned that Washington team. So many games and performances we could point to as McGinnis memorable moments, including the Indiana-Kentucky All-Star Series, where Big Mac scored 53 points and grabbed 30 rebounds in a win at Louisville's Freedom Hall.
I was very fortunate to be named Mr. Basketball that year in 1969. And we fielded an all-star team of our best seniors from Indiana against a team from Kentucky. It's a game that's been going on for a lot of years. We played 2 games, one in Indiana and one in Kentucky. The first game, I had 23 points and 14 rebounds. I didn't think that was too bad. But one of the Kentucky players was not very impressed with the game I had or me. So I didn't want to leave a bad impression on him. So the next week I had 53 points and 30 rebounds.
I'd like to welcome Chris Denary and Quinn Buckner to the program. Condolences for your loss. I know you were both very close with George McGinnis. Quinn, we lost a legend yesterday.
Well, we really did, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to celebrate his life. At Indiana University, it's a big deal. I mean, I think it's a big deal all over the state of Indiana, and just grateful that we have a chance to celebrate it and talk about some of the great things he did.
I've been able to do TV for 30 years, play-by-play, with this guy, Clark Kellogg. Very first game I ever did 30 years ago was alongside George McGinnis, the old Channel 4 telecast. It was Butler and Indiana at Hinkle Fieldhouse. When our athletic director came to me and said, we have a chance to have George McGinnis as your analyst, I said, oh my. So many great memories, but I think, as Quinn would attest, just a better man than any of the accomplishments he had on the floor.
When you and George had that IU connection, so happy he was inducted into the IU Athletics Hall of Fame this past September. What stands out to you about that year he played for the Hoosiers?
Well, what stands out actually is the fact that when he didn't play, because I'm going to tell you why. Played with Steve Downing. They played together in high school. And you got to imagine two guys 6'8", and if you will, at 240 pounds. Now you're talking about something significant. Well, the year George left, Steve Downing and I was blessed to be a freshman on that team. We went to the Final Four. Big Mac stays. We got another chance to win it. And he said this. He had to leave because of family conditions, but he thinks he would have been a much better player had he been able to stay and play for Coach Knight. So I'm grateful for the university athletic department putting him in the Hall of Fame because he's very well deserving.
And every game we broadcast from Gainbridge Fieldhouse, we look up and we see his number, his name in the rafters.
2 ABA championships, synonymous with being a member of the Indiana Pacers. And you know what I'm happy is that he won those championships, and then he came back and he finished his career in the NBA with the Indiana Pacers after all those great years with the Philadelphia 76ers. I mean, just a special person, a special man, and somebody that we all looked up to.
George McGinnis is number 30 in the rafters at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Before the game against Milwaukee on Wednesday, Rick Carlisle shared some of his thoughts and memories on George McGinnis.
Well, he was very unique. He was the ultimate combination of brute physical strength and amazing skill. And, you know, he had hands that were probably as big a hands as I've ever seen a player have. I know Julius Erving has big hands too, but George used to take the ball off the dribble in one hand and get up, put it up in position, and just shoot it. And it was extremely unique. It was, you know, it was one of the signature things that he did. And he was obviously a great player in the ABA and the NBA. You know, there weren't a lot of guys that crossed over to being ABA All-Stars and NBA All-Stars, and I believe he was one of the few. So, you know, we see his name every day in the practice facility. It's up in a banner. We see it at Gainbridge. It's up in the rafters. You know, George McGinnis, Hall of Fame, and so you know, we're just our hearts are heavy right now, and we wish the best for the family.
This statement from Pacers Sports and Entertainment. George McGinnis shaped so many of the fondest basketball memories for generations of Hoosiers. He was the very definition of an Indiana basketball legend, a champion, a Hall of Fame athlete, but he was more than that. He was family, a passionate advocate for fellow ABA players and present smiling faces around the franchise. George has been synonymous with our Pacers franchise as anyone. He will be greatly missed. All of us at Pacers Sports and Entertainment will keep George and his family in our prayers. And Reggie Miller on Instagram posting another gut punch for us Hoosiers. Thank you, George, for everything you did for me and my family. Please say hello to Mel, Roger, and Slick. My guardian angel game just got even stronger. Hashtag Big Mac, hashtag McGinnis the Magnificent. I talked with Miles Turner about George McGinnis on Thursday.
Just a very endearing guy, man. I think, you know, I was with him at a couple of events and whatnot, seen him around the gym. Every interaction we had was positive and pleasant. You know, he was always very, I guess, very just inspired by like the way I did things and whatnot, and he always expressed that with me. So, I mean, my condolences to his family, obviously the city and the organization, but no more than anything, I know his legacy will live on because of the great things he did around here.
At this time, wanted to take a look back at the 1973 Pacers ABA Championship. George McGinnis, such a big part of that team in that series. Pat Boylan has more.
With a record 5 finals appearances and 3 championships, the Pacers were the premier ABA dynasty. Their most memorable series, probably back in 1973, when Slick Leonard's Pacers were pushed to the brink of a 7-game championship series against Kentucky, a series which featured Hall of Famers Dan Issel, Artis Gilmore, and Louis Dampier. In Game 1 at Freedom Hall in Louisville, the Pacers trailed in the second half. But that's when Hall of Famer Mel Daniels took over, scoring on 5 straight field goals to finish with 20 points and 14 rebounds. That set up the always clutch Hall of Famer Roger Brown, who tied the game at 100 to send it into overtime, leading to an incredible shot by 72 playoffs MVP Freddie Lewis to clinch the game. Lewis had 29 points as Indiana won 111-107. Kentucky would take games 2 and 3, which set up a crucial Game 4 at the Indiana State Fair Coliseum. And things got heated early as Pacers forward Donnie Freeman and Colonels guard Rick Mount broke into a fight. And Slick Leonard was ejected from the game once the first half ended. 2 Pacers stepped up. Forward and Hall of Famer Gus Johnson took over as player coach, while Dr. Dunk, Darnell Hillman, was the star of the game, leading the Pacers with 17 points and 18 rebounds as Indiana won 90-86 to tie the series at 2-2. Next was Game 5 and the most pivotal moment of the series, late fourth quarter, with Kentucky leading. A Freddie Lewis 3 put the Pacers behind just 86-85. A defensive stop would give Indiana the ball back, giving a chance for Slick Leonard to call the biggest play of George McGinnis's career.
And the play he designed was for me. It was like a little underneath play where I was going to get a pick, come across the lane, try and get the ball, go up, either make the bucket or get fouled. And the play set up perfect, but I fumbled the ball, and I fumbled it out of bounds. So Kentucky had called timeout, and I remember walking back to the huddle and just thinking about how I had lost the championship for the Pacers. With about 5-6 seconds to go in the game. And, you know, Slick talked in the huddle, and I don't remember hearing anything because I was so distraught about screwing up that play. But anyway, Kentucky got the ball at half court, and they threw it in, and for some reason in my mind, I saw that play developing. When the pass was thrown, I intercepted it, stole it, went in, made the bucket, and we won the championship. That's the greatest memory of my life.
And McGinnis's heroics gave Indiana the 90-86 win. Kentucky would take Game 6, 109-93, leading to a pivotal Game 7 in Kentucky. That's when Slick Leonard coached perhaps the most stellar game of his career, making 3 key decisions. Slick inserted Donnie Freeman into the starting lineup, who impressed with 15 points. Slick then brought Gus Johnson off the bench to limit Artis Gilmore to just 19. And Slick handed the keys to the offense to reserve Billy Keller, who helped find George McGinnis repeatedly in part of his 27-point performance. Indiana went on to an 88-81 victory, leading to this historic call. George McGinnis finished the finals averaging 22 points and 13 rebounds. It earned him playoffs MVP, but it was a group effort that helped get Indiana their 3rd championship 50 years ago.
Thanks to his basketball skills, George brought joy to Pacers fans. His personality and warmth made everyone he encountered feel better. A gentle giant who absolutely belongs on the Mount Rushmore of Indiana basketball legends. George McGinnis was 73 years old.